Hey everyone, today I'll be making a video on what I consider to be the greatest fighting game character of all time and his greatest iteration. And as you can probably see from the screen and the title, it's Tekken 6 Steve in my opinion. I think this is the best designed character in a fighting game of all time personally. Now I haven't played every fighting game, truth be told, and I haven't played every character, but from my personal experience, I just love playing this guy, man. Tekken 6 for me personally is my favorite Tekken game. I just love the way this game feels. It's balancing, not completely well balanced, but still fairly well balanced. And I think the main thing I love about this character is identity, and that's mostly what I'm going to be talking about in the video. He has clear strengths and he has clear weaknesses. And it's so clearly defined in this game. And even though, yes, he's top 5, he's an incredibly strong character in this game, it's not actually what makes me love this character. It's mostly because he doesn't go against his identity as a counterating focused character that can really only pressure you at the wall or using certain stances and is very safe but terrible punishment. And so yeah, I'll be breaking that all down in today's video, and yeah, let's just get into it. Now let's go on to Counterit. This character is defined by being the Counterit god. I mean, the main move he utilizes is back one, 13 frame, impossible to whiff punish pretty much, high recovery, 13 frame high Counterit launcher. It's incredibly strong, insanely hard to whiff punish, insanely big hitbox. It doesn't look big, but when the opponent extends their hurt box into you and you counter it them, trust me, it hits a lot more times than you think it would, basically. So yeah, very, very strong counter option. It's even stronger in this game. This is the best back one he's ever had as well, specifically because this option here, you can't launch off of this in other games. Usually the low will just hit and that's basically it. But in this game, you can actually combo if you do the whole string, which you can't do in any other game, which makes it so that even if you just do back one by itself, you get a counter at launch, but if you also do the extensions, you still get the launch regardless. Usually, if you get the counter it, you won't get the launch in other games if you do the whole string. So yeah, best back one he's ever had, perhaps. What other counter it tools are there? Down forward 2, fantastic. Remember, he's all about counter-its, and he has a safe mid-homing counter-it launcher. This is unheard of, basically. He doesn't even have this today because it's just so insane, basically. He has a hit-confirmable mid-mid counter-it launching string as well. This is gone today as well. This was removed, unfortunately, but he had this, and it was really strong. He also has flicker jab down 1. So flicker 1 down 1. This is actually a launcher. Why not look it? But it is. See that? 82 damage without walls as well. Insane damage. Very, very high damage character. So yeah, really good stuff. And now let's actually get into his lows. His lows have actually also been the worst they've ever been in this game. They don't really compare to any of his other lows in other games. For example, down 2-1 obviously is a nice low mid string, but it doesn't give him any momentum. Down 1 doesn't give him any momentum in any of the other games. Still has those classic tools, but the reason I say his lows are the worst they've ever been is because stuff like down back 2, which you wouldn't really use anyway at the high level because it's very easy to react to and they can just low parry it. It knocks down a normal hit, nice, seems really good, right, for a -12 low, even though it's reactable. But the main issue with it in this game is that it's not actually -12, it's -15. This includes like Peekaboo down 2, Albatross down 2, down back 2, like I said. All these lows are launch reactable and launch punishable. So not only do you not have to force the opponent to low parry those lows, they can just block and get much more damage because they're launch punishable anyway. So yeah, really, really bad stuff. And he also doesn't have full crouch down forward 1 in this game. He only gets that in tag 2. Instead, he has to just do the manual input of instant peekaboo down 1. So yeah, no full crouch low, which makes him a lot worse in that regard. But I also kind of like the fact that you can only do Peekaboo down 1 in Peekaboo because it's a momentum build. It's his only momentum building low. It's his only low that really gives him plus frames, it being +2 and only -12. But the fact that you could do it from full crouch in other games, I'm just like, I'd rather it stick to Peekaboo because in Peekaboo, the whole point of that stance is that you're supposed to open up your opponent with that stance specifically. You can't really open them up in neutral or like sometimes against the wall. I'll get into that in a second, but usually you just have to go into Peekaboo, and now you finally have a momentum building low, quote unquote. So yeah, he does have Stomp here, Foot Stomp, which is still pretty good. It's actually really good in this game, to be fair, because at the wall, you can actually get twice in a row. Okay, well, it didn't work there, but let me try again. There we go. You can connect 2 in a row, which is 45 damage, insane. And I really like this because Steve is, in my opinion, shouldn't really be able to open up the opponent easily, in the open at least. He should kind of just be able to do it only from Peekaboo, but even Peekaboo is just a bit meh, I guess. Because this low is not really that damaging. Yes, it gives you plus frames, but it's his only low that gives him plus frames, but it's not really that damaging, so oh well. But at the wall, now you actually have to be scared. And I really like this because, like I said, Steve is all about countering and landing a big combo. So you do a big combo. Okay, I messed up there, but now they're at the wall. You no longer have the risk of this being whiffed because it's insanely fucking hard to use in the neutral because of how short the range is. So usually you wouldn't use this in the open, but now you can use it at the wall because the opponent can't back up anywhere, and you actually get rewarded because you get 45 damage. So you get extra damage by being able to do that. You can even actually combo off of it, but it's really fucking hard to do. You have to get the axis just right. Okay, I did not mean to do that. What the fuck? If you land it down 1+2 and then you do a forward for 2 right afterwards, you can actually combo off it, but it's just, I won't be able to show that in this video, I don't think. It's way too specific of an angle you have to get. Okay then, let's get on to punishment. Steve has always been a character that has terrible punishment compared to the rest of the cast. He's almost always had the worst punishment throughout the cast, actually. And this is for a certain reason I'll explain in a second, but in this game it actually was the worst it ever was. Let's get started with it then. 112 is 10 frame, couldn't sway out of it. 30 damage is nice, but not being able to sway out of it to get more plus frames is kind of a negative compared to being able to do that in the next installments in the franchise. And also his jab range is really bad. It's always been quite bad, which is funny because he's a boxer as well. But yeah, he's always had bad jab range, so punishing some stuff would be a bit tricky with Steve if they're -10, because it could whiff. And so yeah, let's go on to 12 frame, 2-1. Not too bad, but 26 damage. Into Peekaboo +15 is nice, but compared to other 12 frames like, for example, Bruce here, rest in peace Bruce, but has an amazing 12 frame because it wall splats, has an amazing 10 frame. I mean, generally the way punishment works in Tekken is that usually a 10 frame will only give plus frames, sometimes some certain characters have wall splatting 10 frames. Then 12 frames will usually be the wall splatting option, or the 13 frame. 14 frame is usually a big option, like big wall splat, high damage, sometimes even a launch, and then a 15 frame would be a launch pretty much for every character. So Steve only gets plus frames for 12 frame. Surely he has a 13 frame then to wall splat. Nope, no 13 frame. Okay, well then what about 14 frame? Surely he has a really good 14 frame then. He has Sonic Fang, and this is usually a really good whiff punisher, but as a 14 frame block punish, it's actually really weak. 26 damage and does not wall splat. Yep. It's actually the weakest version of his Sonic Fang too. In other games, in Tekken 8 for example, it's a heat engager, meaning that you can actually heat dash out of it and get like 45 damage actually to do a follow-up. But in this game, and usually in the next games, like it's always been 28 damage. In this game it's 26 damage, which is, yeah, quite below average. So yeah, for a 14 frame, not very good, but as a whiff punisher, fairly decent. And then 15 frame, no 15 frame. His forward 1+2 doesn't exist in this game yet, so you can't get a 42 damage mid option to, you know, block punish 15 frame stuff. And then you're like probably surely 17 frame launch punish, right? I mean in Tekken 7, Tag 2, and Tekken 8 now he has one in up 2 and back 2, right? Back 2 in this game is actually a safe mid launcher, safe mid counter launcher, sorry. It's very weird because you have down forward 2 anyway, which is homing and 1 frame faster, but yeah, I'm not really sure why they made that a safe mid counter launcher. So yeah, no 17 frame standing launcher as well. His fastest standing launcher is actually 19 frames with up forward 2. But up forward 2 is actually terrible. It has no range. The combo damage is decent afterwards, but not all that. And it is 19 frame startup, which is pretty much unheard of for your fastest standing launcher. So yeah, worst standing punishment he's ever had. When it comes to whiff punishment, obviously you have Sonic Fang, but it does 2 less damage than it usually does. Not only that, but he can't really use up forward 2 as a launch punish. He can't really use back 2 like in other games. For a whiff punish launcher, he actually has to do instant peekaboo up 2. But this is very slow in and of itself. It's around 19 frame startup if you include the input, and it also is very dangerous to use because because it's quite slow. If the opponent manages to block the peekaboo up 2, then they can actually launch punish you because it's like -15. So yeah, very risky to use as a whiff punish launcher. Okay, well then what about while standing punishment then? Surely that's a bit better, right? Whereas while standing 1-2 is actually like amazing, funnily enough. 36 damage for an 11 frame while standing punish is unheard of. Usually you only get like a while standing 4, something like this basically, like 12 damage, some plus frames, that's it. But no, he actually gets 36 damage and +3, which is well above average. The best 11 frame while standing punish in the game actually. But there's a reason for this, and this is because he doesn't actually have a 13 up until 17 frames. He doesn't have another punisher. His while standing 2 is a 14 frame Counterit launcher, safe mid Counterit launcher. That's all it really is. So he only has while standing 1-2 up until 18 frames where he has while standing 1+2. So yeah, in Tekken 8 it's 16 frames and it's full crash down for 2. In this game it's while standing 1+2 and it is 18 frame startup, which is really bad. That's why his 11 frame is so good, because yeah, he can destroy people for doing -11 or 12 pokes, low pokes, but he can't really punish like anything else up until 18 frames like properly. Like Lee's down 3 for example, -15, can't punish it. Like he just has to do while standing 1-2 instead, whereas other characters can launch it, or even -13 stuff where people can get like a knockdown or a wall splat. Yeah, he has none of that, unfortunately. So yeah, worst punishment he's ever had. Another clear weakness that this character has, but he makes up for it by having really strong safety. He's always been, this is not really exclusive to this game, but he's always been a very safe character. I mean, safe down forward 2, counter it homing mid launcher, safe while standing 2, counter it mid launcher. Back 1 is very hard to whiff punish in and of itself, so it's very safe to just throw out. Hit confirmable mid launcher. That's if you can hit confirm. It's quite hard, to be fair, especially online. Albatross 2, Corsica forward 1. The character is just incredibly safe in pretty much everything he does. So like Steve kind of makes up for the fact that he has terrible punishment, meaning that the opponent can use very unsafe moves against him and not really feel as though they're risking too much, by the fact that he himself is not very risking too much by just being a very safe character in and of himself. So yeah, very, like I keep saying, very clear strength, very clear weakness, and I love that about this character. It's all about identity. Now let's get on to Peekaboo actually, because Peekaboo was actually only introduced in this game. Tekken 5 DR, Tekken 5 and Tekken 4, he didn't have Peekaboo. And Peekaboo in boxing is a stance that you utilize to open up your opponent. It's an offensive, aggressive stance. And in this game it functions just like that. And I think they've actually just completely nailed this stance in Tekken 6, and that's why it's barely changed up until Tekken 8, where they've changed it a bit in Season 2, unfortunately, but they really did nail this stance. I mean, obviously, you have the punch parry, counter it launching 2 option. You had the option in which that you can go under highs and go over lows. I think you have the backsway option here as well. Yes, you do. You have, this is the only stance or like situation in which he gets a plus on hit low. Every other low is either a knockdown or a or negative on hit. So yeah, really cool stance. I'm really glad they introduced it into this game, and they just nailed it on the first go. Because you already had Flicker, right, which is the defensive stance in boxing that you use for countering your opponent. So yeah, obviously he feels very complete in this game to me. You have Flicker, your defensive stance, and then you have Peekaboo, your aggressive stance. It's why I don't really play too much Tekken 5 DR Steve, because I feel like he's a bit half-baked without Peekaboo. It's just such a fun stance. Let's talk about his punch parry now, actually. His punch parry is actually the best punch parry ever in Tekken. And I'll get into this in a second, but let me just give you a bit of context. Because Steve is a boxer, he can really only punch, basically. Obviously, he has like some elbows, I guess, but for the most part, he is simply just throwing out punches. This makes him quite weak to punch parries, actually, as you would imagine. For example, in Tekken 7, him facing Feng is actually quite a bad matchup because for multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons is because Feng has a launching punch parry, and it's really, really strong against him, because when Steve is trying to open up the opponent by doing string pressure and going into stances, the opponent can just throw out a punch parry and then just end his offense. And so yeah, he's very weak against punch parries, but in turn, Steve himself, because he's a boxer, because he understands punching like nobody else, he also has a punch parry, and in other games it's quite strong. It just gives a guaranteed follow-up, and that's basically it. But in this game, it's actually a launcher. Let me try and show you this, actually. There we go. Did you... Oh yeah, I messed up the follow-up there, sorry, but did you see that? That actually means that Steve can launch off his punch parry. It's insanely hard, and I really like that because Steve is a hard character. He has some execution, but yeah, I really like that he has a punch parry, but only that launches, but only if you're skilled enough to be able to do it. And I really like that gameplay wise, but lore wise, I think it's fantastic the fact that he is very weak to punch parries himself, but because he's a boxer, he has the best punch parry in the game. It makes so much sense, and it really is just so cool for me. See, another reason why I really like this character. And finally, I think his combos are just so fun in this game. Mostly because of the game system itself, I really like the bound mechanic in this game. But Steve's combos are just unparalleled in terms of fun, especially because of his bound tools such as forward, forward 2, wild man. Let me try and demonstrate one. I'll put some combos actually at the end of this video, but yeah. We've got back one. Could do something like this. I mean, 110 damage, and that wall combo is so cool to me personally. I just think his combos just look so sick, and they actually do have a bit of skill. And yeah, I just love this guy, man. Back when Gatling gun was actually a bit hard to do as well. So yeah, I'll show you some combos now. And that's going to be the video for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. It was really fun recording this. I'm a bit ill, so I apologize for that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. Let me know down below who your favorite fighting game character of all time is. I'm very much interested to hear your thoughts. And so yeah, thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate you.